Why, hello everybody. Happy Monday. Is it a happy Monday? Is Monday are Mondays happy? I don't know. I haven't figured this out yet. Jury's still out. No, they're not. Jury's here. The jury's here. Hello, 13th jurors and all of our guests. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, you can do exclamation point seat and get yourself your juror chair. I do want to say that there were a couple of you that were right on the money when you came into the stream. And so I am going to go ahead and start with that video right off the bat because I'm actually ready for it, believe it or not. So here we go. Oh man, I love jamming out to that. Well, congratulations to our first place, Kelly P. You get yourself a lovely, lovely throne. It's all in your head, so it doesn't cost much to move it around. You can put it wherever you want. Take it to work with you. Take it to wherever you go. That's fun, huh? And then Jill, congrats! You've got yourself the lovely, comfortable rocking chair. And then Queen Olive Ruth Ann sitting in that beanbag chair. Congratulations to you three. Thank you so much for coming in early. You too can get yourself an imaginary chair. If you pop in early, all you have to do is go down and hit the subscribe button. And then there's a little down arrow and then click all, because usually it defaults to personalized. Click all and boom, as soon as the stream goes public, you are notified, which is fantastic. Also, I am getting so frustrated with this microphone. So what did I do? I bought another one. And that should be coming soon because it is definitely not the cord. It is definitely the microphone, which is very unfortunate because I do like this microphone. But I am moving on up to the east side. I bought myself a Shure microphone and I'm very excited about it, as well as a new microphone arm. So I am getting a bit fancy. And yes, some of you have noticed the sign. And so here's a funny story about that. This right here was a thought for my family for Father's Day. And Shireen, boy, she beat him to it. Shireen, thank you so much. And Mrs. Bruce Crime was like, that was in my cart. And I was like, I didn't know it was coming. And so they did something else as well. They went this route, which I love because of the wonderful things it does, which is it's Bluetooth. And so Shireen, don't feel bad about it. Don't seriously. It worked out. It worked out for the best because this doggone thing is really cool because I can switch presets and flip it around. And now all of a sudden, you know what trial we're watching. The trial of Jodi Arias, right? And I can change the speed. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's happening. So I really dig it. It's really cool. I love it so much. You can't really see some of the emojis. I got to work with the lighting and situation here, but I'm working on that now. But yeah, that's pretty cool. This whole thing is just turning around, and then Frankie. This is Frankie's backdrop for me when I do like the romantic readings. But it's a castle, which I thought was kind of cool. You know, night court, night court. Ha ha ha! Puns, love. It's not really a pun, but you get it. So it's a lot of fun. This is so much fun. I love what this has become. I really do. You know what else I love? I love remembering that night court's in session. Everybody, it is in session. I hope everybody's doing well. You're singing, yes, Wizard of Oz. Oz. Because of the wonderful things. Okay, that was a lot. Thank you. So punny dad joke. It's appropriate, right? It's appropriate. It was just Father's Day. Thank you to everybody who wished me a happy Father's Day on Twitter and Facebook, etc., etc. I'm wearing a dad shirt now, which is both nerdy and dad based, which is what you can't spell DND without dad, so you either get it or you don't. And of course, at the same time, the castle does go with my wig, doesn't it? At the same time, tonight I am. Y'all, I don't know if you've ever had just like soreness around the kidney, gallbladder region, but that's where I'm at right now. And so I've got both a fan on me and a hot pack, and so or a heating pad, and so I'm working through it tonight. You get to peek behind the curtain. Thanks, Brandi. Thank you. Much appreciated. Happy belated Father's Day to all you dads, father figures. And I do realize that for Father's Day for some, either newly or for a while now, is a very difficult time. But just know that I was thinking about all of you. All of you. Keep me in my thoughts. It is not. It's not easy for some. But I appreciate all of the lovely wishes that you sent me. It's called menopause. Yeah, no, this is called ouch. Drinks. You know what's funny? I don't know if any of you have ever seen The Departed, but man, oh man, they really ruined I don't care. I'll drink cranberry juice to the end of time, but anytime somebody mentions cranberry juice now, I'm just like, cranberry juice. Like, it's just, yeah, that's where I'm at. Well, this has happened before. This soreness, what I can already know what I did. I didn't drink enough water, and then I need to reduce the fat in my diet. That's what I need to do. And this weekend was tough. Terry, go back to bed. I'm sorry, I just yelled at you, and you're about to go back to bed. I say, have a good night, and don't go. That's as quiet as it's gonna get. That's about it. It's about it. Look at you all. I appreciate you. Yes. So yeah, it's Father's Day is not a happy occasion for everybody. And but know that I was thinking about you all for sure. Wow, what a day. Brandi this morning did a wonderful job morning into the afternoon. She summarized just the wildest trial. I know we haven't done many trials yet, but just the wildest thing that's been going on. I don't understand per se. I was actually, man, Brandi's internet. If you look at what I'm reaching for, I'm trying to reach for my microphone. I'm trying not to clip out here for everybody. Okay, that would be my audio interface that I'm reaching for under my desk. What was I thinking? Oh yeah, Brandi did a wonderful job. It is quite the piece of work that case was, and I don't know how she does it, but I wasn't kidding when I titled it. She did not title it. I titled it "World Famous Brandi Churchwell Recap" because that's what it is. She did a wonderful, wonderful job. All right, there's a lot going on lately. Patches, yes, I know. I have in the past, and if it gets to the point that it did last time, I definitely will. But I also remember the ER/ambulance bill, and so I'm not there. I'm not there yet. I appreciate the fact that we have the stream tonight because I can distract myself and then just lean back against the heating pad and watch with you all. And so I am enjoying. Thanks, Jen. I appreciate you. You guys are so wonderful and lovely and think about me, and it's so great. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff in that trial for sure. And if Brandy's mind spins off of her shoulders, I am dead in the water. Can't do it without her. Dead in the water. So don't do that, Brandy. At all. Not okay. Yes, I you do. Here's what's great. Here's one water bottle. Here's a second water bottle. So hydrating is definitely key. And of course, I also have my cup. And I'm so glad you said that, Nan. Why do you ask? Because I received something in the mail today, which sounds like the beginning of a song. Pickle juice. That might be yummy. I received something in the mail today, which is from one of our favorites, Kathy, from Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo. And she sent me this lovely mug. Look at this. Look at this doggone thing. It's so cute. And what I love is it's got the sun, and then on the back it says, "I'm a ray of sunshine," after Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo in parentheses. I love that. But I'm a ray of sunshine. So thanks, Kathy, for this. I really appreciate it. Goodness gracious. I don't know whether to drink from it or put it over here on like my stash. I'm sure you meant for me to drink coffee out of it. So oh boy. All right. Come on, microphone. This is becoming a bit too much. I was very excited to hear that the microphone was coming sooner than I had expected. What happened? I'm just kidney / some soreness is really what it is. It's just annoying is truly what it is. What it is a reminder for me to really watch what I am eating. Come on, microphone. Don't do this to me tonight, everybody. Okay. We're willing good things. Yes, baby justice update. Yes, there is. Hold on. I'm sure Dean would be fine with me telling you what he told me. One second. Okay. So, doing better. They decided they found out that it's nothing big. I'm trying not to break HIPAA policy is really what I'm trying to do here. I'd hate to do that and have it broadcast for all the world. But because it's not my child and I can't do that. The MRI that they had indicated things that were not that are manageable and could be gone as soon as 6 months from now, and it's nothing to be concerned about. So I was very excited to hear that from Dean today. Our mods were asking me, and of course I went to go ask Dean, and Dean answered back, and I was very happy to hear that. So much better. Yep, it is. It's just some normal stuff. However, when you have a kid, anything seems just like the most insane, especially if it's your first. The second one can just fend for themselves, but kidding, mostly. No, I'm kidding. All right. So yeah, right? I do. I need Kathy to come fix my microphone with her yarn. I should have thought about that before I just went and bought one of the higher end microphones. But we're at that point where I think we just need to take it to the next level, sound wise for me, both for narrating, because I also, I voice over and narrate a couple other podcasts, and then the other stuff that I do. There's just a lot of stuff that I do recording, so it just makes sense. Let's see here. What else? What else is going on for you all today? Obviously, we're gonna get to. Yes, we do love Kathy. You're right. Obviously, we're gonna get to our lovely trial here. But hey, Dave, welcome. Thanks for watching from Oregon. I'm sorry if you're hearing buzzing. Come on, Mike. Oh, jeez, Louise. Doesn't want to pick. Doesn't want to pick a direction. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome. We are going to be doing Jodi Arias tonight. Phrasing. We're going to be watching the Jodi Arias trial tonight. And our favorite guy is hopping back up on the stand, everybody. Gus Searcy. So that's going to be fun, huh? We watched a little bit about Gus last, we watched we watched a little bit about Gus being charming on Friday, if you all remember. So that's going to be a lot of fun. My face keeps touching the microphone. It's both a good habit and a bad habit, depending on what's going on with your microphone. 104. Get that out of here right now. Get that out of here right now. By that I mean if you like it. I mean, but your folks. I mean, in Arizona, I've been in Arizona. I've driven through Arizona. I have indeed. Jesus, this is so embarrassing. I have indeed stood on the corner of Winslow, Arizona, and I kind of went through. I think we were on Route 40. We drove through Arizona on Route 40, but we liked it a lot. Should be 110. That's not okay. Who was in the car with Gus? All right. So from what I hear, it was a woman who was afraid of anything happening to her from I'm blanking. Why? Oh, jeez. Yeah, I had this in my head. It was all there, and then it all went away. It all went away. Let's see here. 1 second. Chris Hughes. They were afraid of some retribution from Chris Hughes, which to me screams a much bigger problem, to be honest with you. And so, yes. Are we good? Are you deciding to behave now? Okay, good. I'm glad. Oh God, it's like a child. You just have to coddle it and love it. But that's about it. That's where that analogy stops. So yes, thank you. It was a woman named Charmaine. She's afraid of Hughes, and but I will say this: Gus definitely made himself out to seem very suspicious. It wasn't just him looking out for somebody. That's what it seemed like. So yikes. Nope. All I can say is Piesudonai. See, that's so the cradle Catholic in me / recovering Catholic is like 3 babies, 3 miracles. You're a saint. But honestly, having one child is worthy of sainthood. Yes. Oh boy, is the mic a zombie? I don't know. Do we need to bring Lori Vallow over here to take care of it? We might need that. That might need to happen. Hail and well met. Hail and well met. God, the weather is nuts. Let's see. Well, I can give you guys a little preview about what's coming. So we've got Gus who's popping up. He's Prepaid Legal's executive director, or he's an executive director. Now, it's important to know that in MLMs, which is exactly what I'm calling it, and I don't feel bad about it because that's what it is. Because basically, they bring somebody on, they say, sell this stuff. And their goal is to sell the stuff, but their goal is to also sell the idea of that person buying the stuff and then selling stuff to more people, thereby creating this. And so the higher up you are, which really means you've recruited people lower than you, the more money is being filtered to you. This is multi-level marketing. That's what it is. So when we say that Gus is an executive director, it's not entirely because he earned it per se, and it's not necessarily a title. It just means that he sold a lot of stuff. And so that's where we're at. That's who he is. And boy, if you didn't catch Fridays, you're in for a treat. Because whoa, this guy definitely loves the spotlight. Yes, yes, aka a pyramid scheme. Legal Amway, yes. Is it the Magic Castle? No, but that would be cool. I have a lot of friends that would like that. Yep. Yep. Still is. Still is. And they did, and they do. And there's a lot of this going on these days. A lot of it. It's really sad. What's even more sad about the fact that it's this kind of a scheme is who they target. And that's very frustrating too. Beyond frustrating. All right, so let's hop into this, shall we? I mean, let's not waste any more time. It's been a 20-minute, it's been 20 minutes. So let's go right on into this trial. And let's go. You know what I also learned? Real quick. I learned that I could pin messages from my phone. Can't do it in the actual YouTube desktop version, but from the phone, I can do it. I don't understand. But here we are. Here we are. So I'm going to try and do some of those things tonight, but we'll see if I remember. It's kind of out of my it's out of what I'm used to. So we're going to flip this to the message that I had there, and we're going to get started. So without further ado, here we go.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Could you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
My name is Gus Searcy.
And Gus, what is it that you do for a living?
Many things, but the thing mostly is Legal Shield, or prepaid legal in the previous name.
Okay. And just for clarification, when did prepaid legal become Legal Shield?
July 1st, about 2 years ago.
Okay. And if you could, what is your position within the company? Is there a label for it?
Yeah, I'm what's called a $100,000 ring earner, which means I have this little ring.
How's the sound,
It means
everybody?
I make over $100,000 a year, whether I get out of bed or not, and I'm executive director.
Okay, executive director.
Thank you.
Could you describe for me or educate us all perhaps on the hierarchy of prepaid legal or Legal Shield, how that works in terms of where an executive director fits in and who's
Sure.
above them and who's below them? If you could explain that to the jury.
Legal Shield is a multi-level network marketing company that provides a legal insurance product and an identity theft product. And it has about a little over 400,000 associates. Out of those 400,000 associates, the goal is to attain a level such as myself or some of the other people in the company. And the main level that people want to get to is something called an executive director. Out of the 400,000 people in the company, there are approximately 1,500 executive directors. And then there's various levels of executive director from there up. The other thing that people want to attain is the $100,000 ring, because you could be an executive director but still not making a lot of money. But if you have the ring, it signifies that you've made a documented $100,000 in a 12-month period.
Inconceivable.
So to be a ring earner and an executive director is a big thing. To be an executive director is a very big thing in the company.
Okay. It's symbolized in part by the ring, but let me ask you this. You said there's various levels of executive director. Could you describe those for us?
Well, there's like bronze. There's executive director. That means you're an executive director. There's bronze. That means you've helped one other person become an executive director. There's silver, which is where I kind of fall. That means you've helped 2 people at least become executive director. Gold, you've helped 3 people become executive director. Platinum, 4, and then platinum 2, 3, and then it just keeps going up to,
Of course it does.
diamond, I think, which is 13 or 14 people executive director directly under you.
Okay. And you said you are at the silver level. You've made 2 people executive directors, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
directly underneath me. I've actually created a lot of executive directors, but yes.
Okay. Let me ask then, apart from what does,
Pause. Jill just gifted 10 memberships. Holy cow, Jill. Thank you. Let's see. Kelly P, Alyssa, Fanny Pack, John Mills, Brandi Kansky, Rhonda D, Dale, Sewing Mama, Sheila says, welcome to Night Court, and also 13th Juror. Welcome to the jury box. Grab your seat! ! Seat, grab it. As well. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. We may, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's 10. Thank you so much, Jill. I appreciate that greatly. Like a lot. So, all right.
Legal Shield or prepaid legal, what do they sell to the customer?
The customer would be the average American public. The premise is this: the average person checks their wallet before they check their rights, and the wallet says they don't have any. We fix that. We give the average person the ability to have access to proper legal service, legal advice, and identity theft monitoring and restoration services for about $1.19 a day. It's a great deal.
So the associates
Is it?
Market the insurance to new customers, correct?
Friends, businesses, group benefits, employee benefits, all kinds of things, yes.
Okay. And then do they then attempt to get other people to sell the insurance as also to become associates so they can build their business? Is that how
Some
that
do,
works?
and
Okay.
some don't. Most people who want to build a large organization, think of it like an insurance company. And if you can sell insurance, and you might be really good at selling insurance, and there are people in our company that's all they do, or you want to be an insurance broker. So you get other people to work for you, or like a real estate agent with a real estate broker with real estate agents. It's that kind of thing.
Okay. So you are within the structure then financially incentivized to get more people selling insurance for you. That's how you become executive director.
Yeah, that's
correct?
the way to do it, is to build a team of people. So you're making a little bit off of each person.
Okay. And so if you said making a little bit off each person. So if you sell insurance to John, okay, and John turns around and sells it to Sally, you make money off the insurance. You, as the person who brought John into the company, makes money off the insurance John sold to Sally. Is that?
In a quick summary, yes. If I sold a $35.95 service, which is what it costs, $35.95 a month, I make anywhere from $34 to $252, depending upon what level I'm at in the company. As an executive director, I make $252 for collecting $35.95. If I bring John into the business and John goes out and sells something for someone, he makes anywhere from $34 to $252, and I make anywhere from $34 to $182 because I found John.
So if I understand you correctly in the system correctly, you make the most money as not only if you get John to buy insurance and sell it to, and then eventually sell to Sally. If Sally sells to Fred, then you're making more money because the chain is growing, as it were.
I'm not sure.
That's correct.
But I'm willing to withhold judgment until we
And that's
have
really
an answer,
ultimately how
maybe.
one becomes executive director. They get higher pay, and then they eventually get to don a ring at the meetings, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Don a ring.
Now, in terms of what you do for prepaid legal, I want to clarify, is it just a matter of you sell the insurance, or do you do other things within the company?
Well, once you're
That's
hitting
about
the
it.
level of executive director, there's a book that they publish called Profiles of Success. And it's one thing to be an
Oh,
executive
got it.
director. It's the next thing to be an executive director in Profiles of Success. Because you have to hit executive director. To be an executive director in Legal Shield, you have to qualify every month
We
to
heard
do
you.
that. You don't just hit it and you're there. You have to qualify every single month.
You have to keep recruiting?
So once you've done it 8 months in a row, there's a book that's published with all the stars in the company, if you will. And it starts off with the ring earners. Like I said, out of 400 and some thousand people in the company, there's about 1,500 executive directors and about 250 ring earners. So the book will start with the ring earners, and then it flips through to the executive directors at the back
Okay.
that are consistently producing.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you do anything to help market the company or promote the company at meetings or anything of that nature?
Yes, I get flown around the country to speak at meetings because ring earners and executive directors are, that's what everyone wants to attain. So they take us and they send us places to speak at meetings to inspire other people. Because even though it's the same message, sometimes you hear it from a different person, suddenly it sinks in and goes, oh yeah, I can do that. because it's the kind of thing that it's a really good thing that anybody can do, but a lot of people just don't succeed because they don't know how to succeed.
And so
How to succeed in business without really
say
trying.
you speak at many different conventions or events. I don't know what they're called.
Business briefings, conventions, super Saturdays, there's different terms. There's a weekly meeting. Every week there's a weekly meeting everywhere in the United States. There's hundreds of them. Once a month they have something called a super Saturday that in each marketplace, all the meetings come together for one day. They have the national convention. They'll even have regional events.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the national convention. And I'll give you a minute to pour some water.
Yeah, please pour some water.
Is that national convention held in the same place every year, or?
Back then there were two. They used to
I
hold
think they're
one
trying to link
in
him to
Oklahoma, which they still
go
do
down
that
the
one,
bounce
and then they would
route.
hold one in either
We'll see.
Dallas or Las Vegas
Okay. And
every 6 months.
tell us, if you will, how those conventions are set up. Is there's various meetings, some of these inspirational talks? Tell us how that works.
Before the main 2 days of the event, there's a lot of classes, training classes. For example, truck drivers. There's a great program for truck drivers, but you have to be CDLP certified, commercial driver's license certified to be able to sell that program.
No,
or there's
this sounds like a
group
cult. Oh.
benefits, and you have to be certified. So
It's
there's
a
classes
cult.
like that.
Okay.
Then the night before the event starts, because it's usually Friday, Saturday, so the night before Thursday night, they have what's called the Executive Director Banquet. And the Executive Director Banquet is kind of like, to the average person, would be like the Super Bowl. To get to go to the Executive Director
Scientology.
Banquet is the thing. And if you're an executive director, you get to bring one person with you, and that person kind of just won the lottery ticket, if you will.
Okay. Describe well, let me ask you this before we start talking, go back to the banquets. These conventions, are they limited to people that have been working for the company a certain amount of period of time? Are they open to people that are just maybe interested in the business, that sort of thing?
The convention is open to the people that are in the business.
Okay.
I'm sure there are people who aren't in the business that could come, but it's tailored towards people who are in the business, whether you're an associate or junior associate just starting, or a diamond,
Okay.
one of the highest levels in the company.
So is it both a recruiting and motivational mission, or is it just strictly motivational for?
It's more of it's more geared for the associates that are already in. It's to help keep them in the game, help build their belief, help build their thickness of skin, if you will. I mean, a lot of people tell you no. I mean, in my personal case, to get the ring, 5,784 people told me no. A lot of people get 2 no's and quit.
Okay.
So it's to help keep people in the game, to help keep people inspired. And they see people go across stage. They bring people on the stage from all walks of life, all races, all creeds, all financial beginnings that have achieved success.
Okay.
And it's very good. It's very heartwarming to see all of that.
Can you tell us, now going back to what you said about the executive director's banquet and somebody winning a lottery ticket to get in there or to be in there?
Travis was an
Could you just kind of tell us what goes on at that and at this
I
banquet,
believe.
how the directors are treated or their speeches? Could you just kind of describe that for us?
Sure. It's a formal attire evening, tuxedo, formal gown for women. So women love it because they get to get dressed up, and the men have to get dressed up. So that works out real well for the women. Only the
I do not
executive
like
directors
the men.
who have qualified in the last 3 months are allowed to go. So there's around 1,200 executive directors, each with a guest.
Okay.
There's people in that room that make anywhere from $100,000 a year to $4 million a year. And the royalty of the company, if you will. And so to be able to be at that banquet, you actually have the ability to walk up, shake their hand, talk to them, take a picture with them. The dinner is really good. And then the speeches that night are usually the newest $100,000 ring earner. So if you've got the $100,000 ring, this
My
is your first
guess
opportunity
is-
to speak. And they usually have you speak there, and then they have you speak
My
again
guess is
at the convention in front of the entire
next Monday.
congregation, if you will, the
My
next
guess.
day.
Okay. You mentioned, people at this banquet
Congratulations.
making between $100,000 and $4 million. It sounds to me like is that advertised? I mean, is it common knowledge? Is it in these publications that you've talked about? Person X made $250,000, or is that announced at the banquet? How does that work?
In the book that's published, it shows whether you're a $1 million ring earner, or a $500,000 ring earner, or a $250,000 ring earner, or a $100,000 ring earner, an executive director. And I kind of misstated, people at that banquet could be executive directors, and they make roughly $60,000 to $70,000 a year. So it's 60 to 70 on up, about $5,000 a month minimum if you're an executive director,
Okay.
roughly.
But that's known, at least the minimum income of those individuals are known and is bantied about. Okay. You mentioned that a person who was not executive director who got invited to that banquet, I think your word was they won the lottery or
Thanks,
got a lottery
Ann.
ticket.
Yes.
Could
Thanks
you
for hanging out with us.
explain to us
Appreciate it.
what you mean by that?
Well, if you're not an executive director and you're really into the whole Legal Shield family, the whole concept
He's
of what's
like-
going on, and you know who all these people are, and suddenly you get invited to go. I mean, it'd be kind of like if you were working at a presidential election and your candidate won and you got invited to the White House for the inauguration and a
Ew.
special banquet. It would be that kind of thing. So it's a very big deal.
Okay.
He's like a Mad Men reject. He's like a reject from the TV
Let's
show
talk
Mad
a
Men.
little bit
He'd come
about,
in, he'd sell something, and they'd be like,
a little bit more
no,
about why you're
get
here
out of here.
and how you got involved in this.
Thank you, Aaron.
Do you know that young lady sitting there?
Yes.
In a light blue shirt?
Yes.
Who is she?
Jodi
And do you know her last name?
Arias.
Arias. Have you ever heard it pronounced any other way other than Arias?
No.
Okay. How did you come to know Jodi Arias?
Well, that would kind of explain a little bit about how I got into this whole thing.
Okay.
I'm a bit of an anomaly in the organization.
Sustain.
Can we approach her?
You may.
Somebody chuckled.
Mr. Searcy,
I
again,
don't
let
know
me
what it was.
ask you if you could be so kind as to describe for us how you came to become acquainted with Jodi Arias.
She came, I had gone to speak in Arizona at one of the business briefings. And after the business briefing, they have kind of like what's called an after event where they take the guest speaker, in this case me, and they take them out to dinner. And so all the associates of the meeting can kind of get to meet the guest speaker for that night. And she was at that meeting.
Okay, and kind of describe for me this meeting. I mean, you mentioned taking pictures and that. Is that what we're talking about, a kind of a social gathering, or is this like another event where the heads of the company, so to speak, are treated with like royalty, as you described?
No, this is an after event, after the business briefing, which is the formal presence, where if someone wanted to learn about what we do, you would invite a guest, you'd go to the briefing, a speaker will come in, do a presentation for everyone, and then afterwards, they take the speaker out to dinner, and anyone who wants to come, guest or associate, is welcome to come. And it's kind of a casual social meeting at that point, and then people take pictures, they have you sign their books and things like that. And I met her at that point.
Okay. And do you remember when that was?
Not precisely.
Okay. Do you remember a year, a particular
It
convention?
was like 2007, 2008, somewhere in that range.
And you don't remember what meeting it was at or what convention?
I've
it
done
might have been at?
hundreds of them.
Okay.
He's
After
so
meeting
cool.
Jodi at this
He's done
initial
hundreds
event,
of them.
did your relationship with her continue?
Yeah, she had asked me to help her. And the reason, because I became an executive director in 90 days, it usually takes people a year to 2 years to
Oh, here
hit
we
that
go.
level. So
Let me talk about myself a
a
little bit more.
lot of people, not just Jodi, ask me for help so they can get past whatever level they're at. because I seem to have a knack for helping people do that.
Okay, so it wasn't uncommon for you to receive a request like that for help?
No,
Okay.
I have lots of them.
And just so
I don't know
we're
what
clear,
the pin is. I think it is a reward.
What do you mean by helping people get past their level? I mean,
It might
are you
be a
talking
legal
about
shield
sales
pin.
techniques, marketing technique? Is that what we're talking about, or?
Well, we all have the same product at the same price with the same marketing tools. So it's really not about that. It's about what's in people's heads. So I need to find out what's making them
We
not
like to manipulate
succeed.
them.
Because this, the company has a very simple process. And if you follow the process, and you do what we ask you to do, you'll probably succeed if you do it right.
Yep.
So there's
I'll show you.
emotions involved. There's like some people, they're afraid to talk to their family because they're embarrassed, or they're shy, or they don't quite believe in the product that they got involved.
There it is, right there.
You need to find out what the reasoning is. So
Okay.
you need to get into their head, find out what's going on with them. And then what I usually do is set up some kind of accountability where they will say, all right, I want you to call me once a week or twice a week, depending upon the situation. Let me know what you're doing,
One of
or
a
how many
kind
people you've
recognition
shown the
program.
service to that week, or something that kind of forces them into a action, because it's kind of like Weight Watchers. If you got to show up every week to somebody, you're going to be more likely to do something than if you are completely on your own.
Okay. And is this the type of relationship you began to develop with Jodi Arias?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you speak to how much contact you had with Miss Arias over the ensuing months? Was it weekly? You talked about checking in monthly. Do you know?
Probably at minimum of once a week, we would touch base with each other.
Okay. Was it strictly business, or did you ever become friends?
Well, I'm usually friends with most people I deal with. I tend to work on a personal level as opposed to a business level. So yes.
Okay, so it wasn't just a matter of discussing business. You became friends. That's how you tend to do things. Is that
Yeah,
fair to
because you
say?
get to know people. That's how you're going to get to know. If it's strictly business, you don't really get to know what's going on with them.
Gus.
So over those months, you got to know Miss Arias fairly well. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. During your interactions with Miss, and I want to clarify before we go any further, your relationship with Miss Arias, was that strictly platonic, or was there any romantic or sexual relationship between the two of you?
Yeah, just platonic.
Okay.
She had a boyfriend,
Okay. And who was that boyfriend?
Plutonic.
Travis.
Okay.
Alexander.
It was plutonic.
And you knew Travis as her boyfriend. To your knowledge, did a lot of people know about that?
This isn't the misconduct hearing. Hold on. This isn't the misconduct hearing. Her ruling was out of the earshot / video. So it ended with her saying, "Everybody leave. We're going to talk about this." So it's actually, this is in front of the jury. So he got his big old day. He gets to talk about himself.
I said, to his knowledge.
Yes, you may answer yes or no. Overruled.
To my knowledge, I don't know how many people knew. That wasn't something I was concerned about. I knew, but it wasn't something I didn't conduct a survey.
He said that hoping that there was some
In the time of your relationship with her,
laughter.
did you ever know her to dress in a way that you thought was over sexual or inappropriate?
Approach.
Let me ask you, Mr. Searcy, during the course of your relationship with Miss Arias, I know you talked about meeting her at a convention and her asking for your help. And I know you talked a lot about a fair amount of phone calls that you had, weekly phone calls. How many other times did you physically see her? Were you in contact with her, be it at meetings, be it on a personal level, anything of that nature? Do you have any idea?
Well, I'd see her at the national convention, see her at the after event, see her at the regional event. So maybe 4 or 5, 6 times. Not counting time she met with me personally.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Not counting the time she met with me personally.
Okay. And do you have any idea about how many times she met with you personally over the year or so that you knew her?
Just probably twice.
Okay. As it relates to all those meetings, both personal and professional, did you see her ever dress in a inappropriate manner?
No, she was always dressed very feminine, but she was very conservative.
Inappropriate and feminine.
Overall
There's
answer
no,
will stand.
those don't,
And what was that? So describe that again for us, please.
I said she was always dressed very feminine, but very conservative. Always long sleeves, high necks, long dresses or slacks, nothing provocative in any way. Very, very professional.
Okay, and that was both in your personal interaction and professional interaction with her at these meetings, right?
Yeah, even personally, she'd always wear like jeans and long turtleneck kind of sweater thing.
Was going back to these meetings you've had with her, was she ever sexually inappropriate in her conduct?
No.
please
I
no.
watch for those kinds of things because some women I help,
Sustained.
Just describe for us how you can come to that conclusion.
because I help various people, men and women, and how they dress, how they act, all affects things. You know, some women, they dress too provocative and men don't take them serious. They want to date them rather than join them.
Okay.
And so they need to tone it down.
What?
Or some, are, you know, dress too wild, or it's even as subtle as their cell phone. When someone calls their cell phone, the message on it is some kind of weird music or
You
something.
don't have to
which
be a
is
member to be
inappropriate for
be
a
here.
professional business person if
at
someone's
all.
calling you.
You're good.
So I take
Don't
all
worry.
of the factors into consideration.
Let me ask it this way then. These are factors you take a look at when you're mentoring both men and women in the business and with,
Correct.
okay. And as it relates to the conduct of a female that you might be mentoring, you never found, Miss Arias, you never needed to direct her in any way regarding being overly flirtatious or her phone or anything of that nature, all very professional, right? Did you observe her behavior to be
See you,
professional?
Ricky.
Yes.
Could you describe for us, and you mentioned a couple of the personal interactions you had with her, not at the business briefings. Could you describe, say, for example, the first occasion?
I was in Las Vegas speaking at the local business briefing. It wasn't the convention, it was the local business briefing. And she had called me and she was very upset. Her and Travis had had an argument.
Sustained.
When she called you, what was her demeanor?
She was very upset.
Okay. Did you have an understanding of why?
Yes.
And what was that understanding?
Approach.
When you received this phone call from Miss Arias and she was upset, to your knowledge, where did she live at that point in time?
She was in Arizona.
And to your knowledge, was she intending to move elsewhere?
Objection, speculation, hearsay.
You may answer only yes or no.
Restate the question, please.
To your knowledge, was she moving away out of Mesa, Arizona?
Yes.
And she described for you why.
Yes.
Do you remember month and year of the time that this took place?
I can't remember exactly this long down the road.
Okay, you mentioned that you
Amos, thank
were
you.
in Vegas in your
Yes.
Good
motorhome,
night.
right?
Correct.
And
Stepper
Miss Arias
79,
came
Tommy
to
143.
stay with you?
Sam Richardson.
Yes, I invited
Welcome
her. She said she
to the
needed
call.
to get away.
Hearsay.
Sustained.
Grab your Kool-Aid with a C and an E because copyright
She
infringement.
came to stay with you on her way out of Mesa, right?
And,
Hearsay.
grab your juror chair exclamation point seat, and now you have
Overall, did
access
he
to
answer
all the
yes or
emojis,
no?
etc.
Yes.
And she spent some time with you at your motorhome, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And was this a matter of hours, a matter of days? Can you describe that for us?
About 2 days. 2 days, 1 night.
Okay. And during those 2 days and 1 night, did she ever make any sexual
Sharon
advances?
just gifted
upon you?
5
No.
memberships. Thank you. Brett, Jean Rano, Linda Denton, Ellen Boggs, Janice, welcome
To
to
your
the cult
knowledge,
too.
during those few days,
Grab
did she
the
ever speak to Travis
Kool-Aid.
Alexander?
Enter chair.
Clarification here, sir.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the fam.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Better than prepaid legal.
Was Mr. Alexander, did Mr. Alexander, to your knowledge, ever come to the motorhome?
No.
Objection, speculation, when? In that foundation.
Sustained.
To your knowledge, while Miss Arias was there at your motorhome, spending these 2 days and 1 night with you, did Mr. Alexander arrive at your motorhome? Was he there?
No.
To your knowledge, did she receive any phone calls from Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
How were you aware that Mr. Alexander was calling her?
The motorhome is very large, but it's long as opposed to wide. So
Motorhome's
I was sitting on one couch, she was sitting on the other. We'd been talking about this far away between me and this gentleman
It was
here.
his motorhome, I
The
think.
phone rang. And if you're in a real quiet room, when someone's that close, you can hear what the other side is saying. So she answered the phone. She said, he goes, hi.
Objection here, sir.
Sustained.
May we approach? During this phone call we were speaking about, did Miss Arias identify who she was speaking to?
Yes,
And whom was that?
Travis.
Travis Alexander?
Travis Alexander.
Okay. Could you describe for us, you talked about being in this small motorhome. So could you describe for us her demeanor after the phone call?
Well, once it got heated, she excused herself, stepped outside. She talked to him for about a half an hour outside. And when she came back in, she was shaking and crying.
Phrasing.
Okay.
So yes, this is the defense's case in
Had you
chief,
seen
and
her
he is the defense witness,
act
although
like that
you
before
never
in
know
any
it.
of your prior interactions with her?
No,
Did you ever see Miss Arias get mad at Travis?
no,
You mentioned you saw Miss Arias a second time after this time you met in Las Vegas. What was that? When was that?
she
Excuse me.
was moving to Northern California and she had had her phone stolen. So I helped her get a phone, so she met me to get the phone.
Okay. And how long was that interaction?
10 minutes, not very long. We just met, said hello, gave her the phone. She was on her way.
Okay. Moment, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Searcy. That's all the questions I have for right now.
Cross-examination.
So with regard to this prepaid legal outfit that you work with, I think the term that you used was that it's multi-level marketing business, right?
Yes,
And it appeared from the way that you described it is that if somebody signs somebody else up and they're somebody that you signed up, then you benefit, correct?
say that one more time.
You signed somebody up, for example,
Yes,
and then they sign somebody up. It seems that you profit from that signing up of the last person, don't you?
yes, we profit from all the people.
So the answer is yes, you do profit, right?
Yes,
And it appears in the way that you describe all of this that there are a very
This is gonna be
few
fun.
number
This is
of
gonna be
people,
fun.
whatever designation you may give them, directors, give them rings, whatever, that are at the very top. There's some sort of elite people at the very top, right?
Yes,
And those people are profiting from what everybody else is doing down here, right?
as they profit themselves.
But the answer is yes, these people up here profit by whatever is going on down here, right?
Yes,
And that's how the money is made, right?
yes,
That's how one reaches the $100,000 club, right?
yes,
By being at the top of the pyramid, those are the people that are really making the money, right?
it's not a pyramid.
I didn't say it was a pyramid, I
You
said
just
at the
did.
top, at the top of the pyramid.
That implies a pyramid in my logic,
So is that a yes or a no, or do you not want to answer?
It
not
is-
as stated.
So you don't want to answer that question, indicating that the people that are at the top of what appears to be a pyramid, those people are the ones that are making the money.
It's a cone. It's a cone,
Overruled.
if we remember that.
It's not a pyramid, so to say it is would be wrong. It is multi-level, that I will agree with,
Well, sir, so your answer is you won't answer that question, right? As proposed.
as stated.
Okay, well then let's use a triangle, right? Let's not call it a pyramid, let's call it a triangle. The people at the very top of the triangle, those are the people that are the directors, those are the people that have the rings, those are the people that go to the executive ball, right?
It's more like a circle if you want to get into geometry.
Sir,
Oh, jeez.
that's not my question to you, is it? I'm asking you who's making the money, aren't I?
The people who work the hardest,
Sustained.
Who's making the money?
The people who
that are
work.
at the top, or the people that are down here that they signed up?
sir, you are wrong. There are people at the top that don't have anybody
Objection,
underneath them.
non-responsive. Go ahead.
There are people in this company making hundreds of thousands of dollars that don't have anyone underneath them. They go out and sell it as an employee benefit. You sign up Southwest Airlines, for example, one of our clients, you're a millionaire. You don't need to recruit anybody. So
Come
that
in.
what you're stating isn't correct. And you're
Southwest?
asking me to state something that is not correct for your purposes, not the truth.
So the model that you previously described, the people that were in the $100,000
Sure,
club,
Jan.
you signed up Southwest Airlines?
I personally didn't, but I
Yes or
sold
no?
1,000 memberships myself.
Objection, non-responsive, Judge.
Sustained.
The question is, sir, did you sign up Southwest Airlines?
No.
Did you sign up any big company at all?
Yes.
Who did you sign up? Go ahead, tell me.
City of Norwalk, City of Garden Grove,
And that's the reason why you're in the $100,000 club?
partially. It's partially because of both. It could be a mixture. Some
And-
people recruit only. Some people sell only. Some people like myself
Sir,
do all of the
Let me ask you
above.
this question. She was making a lot of money? We're talking about the defendant?
No, she was not an executive director. She was trying
Right,
to.
so the answer is she wasn't making a lot of money, right?
That's correct.
She hadn't signed any big businesses, right?
That's correct.
And the reason that she was under your tutelage was that you were trying to groom her so that she would be able to present herself, so she would be of the mindset to go out and sell this, right?
That's correct.
In terms of the money that was coming in, the approximately $40 a month that was coming in for her, that money, if she had somebody above her, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
So
Not
the-
me.
So, and if she signed somebody up, the person above her would be making the money, right?
That is correct.
And the people that are above each other, those are the ones keeping out the business people, the
But does
business
he like pizza?
accounts. Those are the ones that are making the money, right?
Everyone makes money who sells or helps people make sales.
The big money, I'm talking about the 100,000. If you take out the business like Southwest, the people at the very top, and you only talk about individuals, those people have other people underneath them, and they take some of the money from the people underneath them, right?
There are people who do that, yes, and there are people who don't, but they
And-
still make money.
The majority of the people that are making money in that company are the people that have signed up a lot of people,
That would
correct?
call for speculation on my part. I don't know everyone's individual financial method.
But it could be, right?
Could be.
Objection, you can't call for speculation.
Sustained.
You said that you met the defendant in 2007 or 2008, right?
Probably late 2007 initially. I had gone to speak in Arizona.
So what month was that?
I don't remember.
And you became, what was the occasion again?
I was speaking at a local business briefing.
And she happened to be there, right?
That's correct.
So that was a professional setting, right?
Correct.
And you saw her 4 other times in a professional setting, right?
That's correct.
How much time did you spend with her that first time that you met her?
The first night,
Yes, sir.
well, the after event probably lasted 45 minutes to an hour. And she was one of the people that I was interacting with. So if I'm going to break it down in minutes, maybe 10 or 15 minutes the first
don't.
night.
All right. And then after that, when did you meet her again?
Physically?
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
So that
Well,
you could
there's
see what
talking
she-
on the phone
excuse me,
also.
I have a question, so that you could see what she was wearing, okay? The second time that you met her, what was that occasion?
At a national convention
Where?
in,
They rested.
believe that one was-
This is like the first witness for
you know
the
what, I honestly don't know
defense.
if it was Oklahoma or Las Vegas. It was one of the two. I don't remember the
So you don't know
timing.
where you met her the second time, right?
I know where I met her. I don't know when.
You don't know when and you don't know where, right?
I don't know when, but I know it was either Las Vegas or it was Oklahoma. That's the
Sir.
only two places the conventions are.
So you don't know where you met her then, right? If you don't, can you, as you sit here, can you tell me it was Oklahoma City? Yes or no?
Could have been,
Right. It could have also been Las Vegas, right?
could have been. It was one of the two. I
Right.
don't know which.
So you don't know where you met her, exactly the place, right?
That doesn't mean I didn't meet her.
Is that the question that I'm asking you, sir, whether or not you
Sounds
met
like
her?
it to me.
Sir, you don't know where you met her the second time. That's what you're telling me, right?
I know approximately,
Approximately means you don't know, right?
if that makes you happy.
Nothing here is to make the prosecutor happy. You understand that?
Oh,
Why
I'd be
don't you
yelling
want to
too.
answer my question?
I'm answering your question.
All right, you're the
I met
answer.
her either in Oklahoma or Dallas. It was, or Las Vegas. It was one of the two.
So
I don't
what-
remember precisely which one. It's 5 years ago.
5 years ago. And it could have been Dallas too? Is that what you're saying?
No,
And when you met her, what was the purpose of that meeting?
well, when we go to the conventions, first off, there's the
No,
social.
no, no. In meeting her, what was the purpose in meeting her?
Check in with her, see how she was doing, what she was doing, what she was up to, how her, because we talk in between, remember? It's not like I don't talk to her for 5 months. We talk about once a week.
Sir, I'm asking about meetings. I'm not asking you about when you talked with her. We're talking about you meeting her at a conference, right?
Yeah, say
Okay,
hello.
So when she came to this conference
Yes.
and you met her,
She was like the
wherever
first
it
witness.
was, how much time did you talk to her?
Through the whole convention, probably a couple hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours.
And during
all
that
told.
time, you were one of the
But he probably
presenters, right?
tried.
Yes, occasionally.
Well, occasionally means what? That you did or you did not present? What is it?
I present at various times. It
I'm
depends
talking
on,
about the second time when you met her, sir.
This is how
Did
you
you
get somebody
present, yes or
flustered.
no?
I didn't present in 2007 on the main stage. I presented at the breakout.
So you presented at the breakout. And during the breakout, was she in your breakout session?
No, she's in a different organization.
All right. And during that time that you were out there, how many days was this convention, wherever it was?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
I'm
Sunday.
looking it up
And
right
how many
now.
times did you see her during that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Probably 3 or 4 times.
And people that go to these conventions, they're expected to dress in a professional manner, right?
Well, yes.
Yes, right? And she dressed as expected in a professional manner, right?
Yes.
And when was the other time that you met her? Now, we've talked about 2 times. What about the third time?
Well, let's continue on with that time. I met
Sir,
her
I'm
several.
asking you when you met her the third time. You don't get to ask the questions, I do. So when was the third time you met her?
Third time I met her would have been at a breakout session or at one of the other, or the parties that night.
So it's still the same conference then, right?
Right.
All right. When was the other time you saw her after that?
After that would have probably been one of the next conventions,
So,
which would therefore be Dallas Las Vegas or Oklahoma.
and so that's the total of the 5 times, 4 or 5 times that you saw her, right?
That's correct.
And in addition to those 4 or 5 times, which appears that you saw her at 2 conventions or at 2 meetings, right?
Over a
yes?
period of several days.
Well, there was this convention either in Las Vegas or Oklahoma, and you saw her 3 or 4 times there, correct?
Right,
And then you saw her one other time here in the valley, right?
right. And I saw her at one of the other conventions.
What other convention was that?
Okay, we have 2 conventions a year, 6 months apart. One of them is in Oklahoma, the other one was in Las Vegas.
We've
I
heard
saw-
that. Where
I-
did you
both
see
of them.
her the third convention, this other convention? Where did you see her? Name of the town.
It was the opposite of the other one, whatever it was.
So you don't know is what you're
I don't
telling me.
remember, it was 5 years ago.
Not remembering means you don't know. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't remember precisely, it was one of the
Oh.
2.
And during this third convention or seminar, whatever it was, again, this was a professional setting, right?
There's also parties afterwards where everyone gets dressed up pretty wild sometimes at the parties. They have after events that are spectacular, in fact, legendary.
So people go there to just blow off steam too.
In the
Legendary.
evenings, yes, they
And
have
so-
big parties.
How many, in that time, this third time, wherever it was, how many times did you see her?
Again, about the same time, 4 or 5 times over a period of 3 or 4 days.
And during that time, you were a presenter too, weren't you?
At that one, I believe I was, yes.
And during this time, you were busy preparing whatever you were going to say, right?
I already knew what I was going to say.
Well, when did you present? The first, the second, the third, or the fourth day?
The second day,
And
after the day,
The second-
Friday, the day after the executive director banquet.
Yes,
Apologize.
counsel. Mr. Cersey. The court reporter can only record one of you at a time, so please do not speak over each other.
Thank you.
Next
so
question.
you presented at this other event, right?
Yes,
And that's when you saw her again, correct?
yes,
And during this time, again, everyone during the day is expected to dress professionally, right?
right.
And that's how she dressed, correct?
And in the evenings as
Sir,
well.
am I asking you about the evening? I'm not, am I?
Continue.
Sir, I asked you a question. Am I asking you about the evening?
No,
Now, after that, you said that you did see her
The
on a
best.
personal level on 2 occasions, right?
yes,
And one of them involved your mobile home, right?
motorhome.
Motorhome, right?
Yep,
And she came by and she stayed 2 days and 1 night, right?
correct.
Where was this mobile home, sir?
Las Vegas,
And
That.
the other time that you met her was involved a telephone or something like that?
I talked to her on the telephone on many occasions.
No. I'm talking about the second time that you saw her other than your,
Oh, in California,
and you saw her in California?
yes.
What town?
Yes.
I believe it was Pasadena.
And what date was that?
I don't remember, 5 years ago.
Was it in Pasadena? What were you doing in Pasadena when this happened?
I had arranged to meet her there because it was on the way for her where she was going
Well, I'm
north.
not asking you what she told you. I'm asking you what you were doing there.
I went there to meet her.
I've
All
got
right?
the
And if you went there to meet
sample
her,
and the
tell me the name of
first
the
couple
town that you
chapters.
met her.
I already did, Pasadena.
Okay? And what time of the day did you meet her?
It was probably
He's making
late
this up.
morning, early afternoon, somewhere
So-
around there.
Late morning to you would be 10, 11 o'clock. Is that what it would be?
Yeah,
And that's when you met her, right?
I'm not exactly sure, somewhere around there. It would have been more than 10 and before 2. Because I
All
have
right.
kids to pick up from school and get to school, and it would have been in between that
So it's
time,
10 and 2, right?
somewhere in there.
And did you give her a telephone
Come
or
on, get
not?
dusty.
Yes,
And you gave her a telephone, and what was the reason you gave her a telephone?
because she needed one.
And what kind of telephone did you give her?
It's called a Helio.
All right, so you purchased the Helio telephone then, right?
They gave it to me.
Okay, you were able to get a hold of the Helio telephone, right?
That's correct.
And then you gave it to her in Pasadena between 10 and 2 during the day, right?
Correct.
And what day was
Whoa.
it that this
The
happened?
Helio
I
is
don't
just so
know.
cool.
I don't have anything else, thank you.
Look at it.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to begin
by clarifying some of the things that you were asked regarding the structure
Gus
of
does, apparently.
prepaid legal and the state trying to impose the dynamic of a pyramid upon it.
Objection, argumentative as to what the state is attempting to do relevant.
It is.
Let me ask you this. Did you, in your mentoring role with Miss Arias to help her become more profitable, did you personally profit?
No, not a dime.
Okay. And could you explain to us how that works? I mean, is there different teams? How is the structure of the nation set up where somebody, obviously, as you've described before, is making money if Miss Arias sells a membership, but who would that person be to her? How does that link work?
Well, you kind of look at this as think of the prepaid legal shield like the NFL. And then within the NFL, you have the Miami Dolphins, Pittsburgh Steelers, you have different teams. Jodi was part of Mr. Hughes's team, Chris Hughes's team. And I am part of a team called Team
Pyramid.
Pinnacle. So we're on different teams. But I help people regardless of what team they're on, so it doesn't matter to me.
Okay. So you weren't directly profiting off Miss Arias' sales, Mr. Hughes was,
Correct.
to your knowledge. Okay. You were also asked about her income, how much money she was making, how successful she was. Did you have direct access to her W-2s or knew how much she was making?
No.
She was just asking for help to
Get him a
succeed
dry
more
erase marker.
in this aspect of her life. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. You were asked about some of the various meetings you had with her, and there was some questioning about the second meeting you had with her that was either at a convention, as either Las Vegas or Oklahoma City, correct?
Right.
Okay. And you were asked about her attire during that meeting. And I believe that was about a 3 or 4 day meeting, as you described?
Right.
Okay. You were asked if people are expected to dress professional at the meeting. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you recall telling us that the expectation was that people were to dress professionally, right?
During the day.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, just as it relates to the day, before we move on to the evening, did everyone always adhere to that during the day?
No.
Okay. You also mentioned there was, I believe you said, after parties and parties in the evening where professional attire was not the norm, I guess, right? Is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to make sure.
Yes, absolutely.
It was more casual or nightclub type attire, correct?
Very nightclubish.
Okay.
Oh,
And
His version of
was
nightclub.
there alcohol at these parties?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever see, let me ask you this as it relates to Miss Arias, did you ever see her dressing inappropriately at any of these evening functions or after parties?
No, she was always dressed very conservative,
Okay.
even whether it was business attire or non-business attire.
Did you ever observe her during any of these after parties acting sexually inappropriate?
No.
Did you ever observe her drunk or out of control in any way?
No.
Did you ever observe her exhibit any anger or any violent demeanor at
No.
these after parties? Okay. You also mentioned, and I want to be clear as well, because we talked about several different meetings and a few different conventions. Has what you told me about the after parties and the after party at the second meeting of the convention, is that true of all the interactions you've had with Miss Arias as it relates to these conventions and after parties?
Yes.
We also talked about, you also were asked about the time you spent with her in your motorhome.
Yes.
And this was not what we would necessarily call a professional setting. This wasn't a prepaid legal meeting or anything else?
No.
Right. Okay. Do you recall how she was dressed on those days?
Yeah, she wore like slacks and like a turtleneck long sleeves.
And that was both days she wore long sleeves?
Yes.
Okay. Was that, to your recollection, if you can speak to it, was that appropriate for the weather or did it seem inappropriate for the weather in terms of the temperature in Vegas?
It was appropriate for the weather at the time.
Okay. Moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any questions from the jury for this witness? It looks like we do have one. Counsel, please approach. Mr. Searcy,
Jury
the
basket.
juror has some questions
Question
for you. To your knowledge,
More than one.
has Mr. Hughes ever helped any of the agents working under you?
No.
How many Diamond members, executive directors, and lower members of your company are there? Total number for each group.
I couldn't guess the total number for each group. I would know there are a little over 450,000 total associates. I know there are about 1,500 executive directors and above, and I know there are about 250 ring earners. As to the rest, I would not have any idea.
You follow up, Mr. Nurmi.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's
You
a pyramid.
mentioned approximately 1,500 executive directors. To your knowledge, was Mr. Alexander one of those?
Yes, he was.
That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
I have nothing, thank you.
Any other questions from the jury for this witness? Thank you. You may step down.
Oh, man. Ah, Gus.
Good morning.
How disappointing you are. So unfortunate. Well, this is going to be fun. I mean, this person is a defense witness. However, see, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. All right. So here's what you need to know about this book. He begins with a multi-page description. Y'all, I can't even start. I can't even start. Oh, geez, Louise. Okay. Chapter 1, Dottie and the Charm. Quote, a love greater than most children will ever know, end quote. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I'm going to read some of it. At least the first chapter. The second chapter sounds a little less interesting, which means it's more for us. Once upon a time, a long time ago, in a land far, far away called Los Angeles, California, there lived a man and a woman. They loved each other very much, and so were married. What am I reading? I'm reading Gus Searcy's book. What is this book called? It'd help if I remembered, huh? It's called The Charm, The Power of Positive Choice. Okay. Let's see here. All right. After several months, they loved each other very much and were married. After several months of normal efforts with no results, they went to the doctor to find out why they had been unable to conceive a child. That's not funny. The fact that he's put all of this in a book. This is his choice. His choices were interesting. After many tests, the doctor concluded they would never be able to conceive, despite the struggle and setback, and because they loved each other even more now, they decided to stay together. The years came and went, and one day the wife became very ill. She asked her husband to take her to the doctor because she did not know what was wrong. At the doctor's office, after they ran all the tests, it turned out she was not sick at all. In fact, she was pregnant. They were extremely excited about this. The husband was especially excited because he was known in the neighborhood as the old man, and now he was the stud. I'll give you all just a second. Just a second. Sir, this is your father. I need a drink too. Yes, he put this on paper. Everything was going quite well for the happy couple until their doctor's visit at the end of the first trimester. At their appointment, the doctor sat the couple down and informed them that this gets terrible. This gets terrible. We're going to go to the next part. All about how he was born. We're moving on from that. Thanks. It's just me. We all need a little night court in our lives. Thank you, JT, mods, and chat. Yay! Thanks, mods and chat. Thank you. Thanks. It's just me. Sorry, this book is giving me indigestion. Chapter 2 is titled The Secret and Magic. You're just going to have to wait for chapter 2. We're going to keep going. And you'll be fine. You'll be fine with continuing. This is actually, this witness is Daryl Brewer. He is Jodi Arias's ex-boyfriend. I got that right? Yep, Jodi's ex-boyfriend, Daryl Brewer. Here we go.
Sir, could you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
My name is Daryl Brewer.
And Daryl, where do you live?
I live in Carmel, California.
And are you single, married, divorced?
I am divorced.
Okay. And Mr. Brewer, how old are you?
I'm 52.
And do you have any children?
Yes, I have one son,
Okay, and how old is your son?
14.
Okay. Do you know this lady here in the blue shirt?
Yes.
How do you know her?
I know Jodi because we were in love.
Step back a little bit. Why don't we talk about when you met her? Do you recall that?
Yes, I met Jodi in the fall of 2001.
Okay. Could you describe for all of us the circumstances of how you met Jodi?
Yes, I was employed as food and beverage director at Ventana Inn and Spa in Big Sur.
I guess they're not going to show
Jodi came
him.
as an applicant applying for a job as a server.
And how did she present herself during her interview with you?
Outstanding. She was on time. She interviewed well. She was dressed appropriately.
And did you hire Miss Arias at that point in time?
Yes.
Okay. And you said at that point in time you were a food and beverage manager. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And how long had you worked at Ventana prior to that time?
Just about a year.
Okay. Why don't you do us a favor and back up a little bit and describe Ventana, what it is, and what you did there?
Yes, Ventana is a 63-room boutique hotel on the Big Sur coast with wedding and banquet facilities and restaurants. And I was hired as the food and beverage manager to run the food and beverage operation.
And the food and beverage operation, is that just a restaurant or is it more extensive than that?
It consists of managing the restaurant, the room service, the banquets, cafe, associated duties with food and beverage being offered on the property.
Okay. And what position specifically, because I don't think we were clear, what position was she applying and ultimately hired for?
The position of server.
Okay. And is there more than one restaurant in your in the resort, or is it just the one?
There's one main restaurant, and there's also breakfast service at the inn itself.
Okay. And so we're clear, this was this at the main restaurant or the?
This is the main restaurant.
Okay. And you described it as high-end, correct?
Yes, it's rather, it's voted a 4-star resort by a mobile travel guide for many, many years.
Okay. So in order for somebody to get hired, you would be particularly concerned about how they would present themselves or how they would act. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Now, at the point in time you hired Ms. Arias, I would take it to understand that you would be a supervisor to her. Am I correct in understanding that?
Yes,
And to further clarify for everyone, were you her direct supervisor? Were there restaurant managers? How did that work?
Jodi was under my direct supervision. There were other managers involved.
Okay. During your time period, and how, after you hired Jodi, how long did you remain as the food and beverage manager?
Approximately a year,
Okay. So you were her supervisor for about a year?
yes.
Okay. And did the resort, Ventana, did they have any policies in terms of reviewing a person's work, annual evaluations, semi-annual evaluations, anything of that nature?
Yes, they
Okay.
did. It started off with a 90-day probation with an evaluation at 90 days. And at that point, the employee was either kept or let go.
Okay.
And then from then on, it was annual evaluations.
Okay. Tell us, did Jodi survive, I guess it would be the right term, that 90-day evaluation period?
Yes,
Okay. She was doing well as an employee?
she was excelling, yes.
Okay. And in assessing that, it sounds like you worked with her on a daily or near daily basis. Is that accurate on my part?
That is accurate, almost daily.
Almost daily. Okay. And you were her supervisor again for about a year in total, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in that time, was there any disciplinary problems, any behavioral problems, anything of that nature where she was inappropriate with customers or anything like that?
No,
Okay. Now, at this point in time, were you dating Miss Arias?
no.
Okay. When did you talked about after about a year, you weren't her supervisor anymore. So describe for us what happened within your job or her job that changed your status as a supervisor.
We had changes in our management and other positions that affect my job. And I made the decision to step out of my management job and did so.
Okay. And just backing up a bit, your son, how old was your son when you worked at Ventana?
I started
I should say.
a year and a half when I started.
His
Okay.
son was working.
And were you divorced at this time?
I was.
Okay. Now, you mentioned there was a shift in the management structure at Ventana. You were no longer Jodi's boss
Became a
after that
pyramid.
shift. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you have a new job title? Could you just kind of describe that for us?
Yes, I was working as a server in banquets and helping with the weddings.
Okay. So you were then you went from a supervisor of Jodi's to a coworker? Is that?
Yes,
And up until that point in time,
I
there had been no
can't
romantic
wait.
relationship at all?
correct.
Okay. Did that romantic relationship then evolve when you were coworkers?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Tell us about that.
We began to spend a little more time together. Our relationship was not supervisor-employee anymore, and became infatuated and fell in love.
Okay. Well, you said a lot there, so let's kind of break that down a little bit. Were you living at the resort or just working there?
I was living in the staff housing at the resort,
Okay.
yes.
And to your recollection, was Miss Arias also living in that staff housing?
She was also living in staff housing.
Okay. So you begin to spend your off hours together and you're working together and you're falling in love.
Correct.
Okay. Tell us about who Jodi was at that point in time.
Jodi was a very responsible, caring, loving person.
And she knew of your son?
She did know of my son, yes.
Okay. And did you, how long a period of time did you date Miss Arias altogether?
Just about 4 years.
Okay. And it
Whoa.
began when you moved yourself down to, when you were moved down to a server position, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you two lived in the employee housing. And how long did you remain there?
I was in staff housing until sometime in 2003 when I moved to Monterey.
Okay. And
No
when
idea.
you moved to Monterey,
because
how
he
far
did
is the
interviews
Ventana Resort
afterwards.
from Monterey?
It's about 32 miles.
Okay. Is this resort, Ventana, is this kind of seasonal work, or has a peak season, or is it one of these type resorts, or is it an all year round?
He probably
It
stopped
is
being
open
useful
year
then.
round and does peak in
Or-
the summer season.
He stopped being useful to her.
Could you explain to us then why you decided to move to Monterey?
I wanted to be out of the staff housing situation. It's not the best housing. And
Okay. All right. And did Jodi move with you, or how did that? Tell us about that.
Jodi did not move with me. She lived in the staff housing at Ventana, separate from me, separate
Okay.
houses. I moved back to town to Monterey, and Jodi remained in staff housing.
Okay. Did the relationship continue after you moved?
It did.
Okay. And how often would you see each other?
I would have to say 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. And was there a point in time, whether it was before or after you moved to Monterey, that you were boyfriend and girlfriend or an exclusive relationship? How would you, or if you had a definition of that type?
Our relationship, I would say, was boyfriend and girlfriend, and I would say that it was exclusive.
Okay. And when do you think that, was that right away, or was that after you moved? When did that kind of come about?
Before I moved to town and continued on after.
Okay. Was there any point in time when you and Miss Arias came to live together?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about how that situation arose and where you were in your relationship when that decision was made.
The decision was made to live together when we purchased a house together.
Okay. And when was that?
That was in 2005.
Okay. And was that in Monterey or was that somewhere else?
That was in Palm Desert, California.
And why was the two of you made a decision to purchase a home together?
We did.
Okay. And how did that work? Were you both on the mortgage?
We were.
Okay. And so it's a pretty stable relationship at that point in time?
Very much so.
Okay. And the home you purchased, you said Palm Desert, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why Palm Desert as opposed to Monterey? Was there any particular reason?
The mother of my son had plans to remarry and move to that area. And so I chose to be in that area because of my son.
Okay. And if I'm following right, at the time you purchased the home, your son would have been about 4 or 5?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the custodial situation between you and your ex-wife?
We shared
Happy
custody.
anniversary.
Okay. So in terms of this home you were purchasing with Miss Arias, it was going to include, your son was going to live there as well, at least part of the time. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. How did you come to the point where you felt like it was okay for that situation to introduce your son to Jodi. Tell us about that a little bit, maybe, and explain why you felt it was okay to introduce him and then ultimately have the three of you live together.
After my divorce, after my separation, I should say, I was not divorced in 2000. It was a little while after that, the paperwork was official, but I was separated, moved away, and we were, for all intents and purposes, divorced. And I was very wary about bringing anyone around my son. I was in a position where I shared custody with his mother, and that meant that I was a part-time with my son, and that time was very valuable to me. And so I made a choice to not introduce other people. I wasn't dating before Jodi.
Okay.
And so Jodi met my son slowly and gradually. By the time we moved in together, Jodi lived with us, and I lived with Jodi, and my son lived with us part-time.
Okay. And how was Jodi's relationship with your son?
It was outstanding.
Were they close?
They were close.
Did they spend time together on their own?
They did. There were a few occasions where they were together on their own.
Okay. And did you also go out, the three of you, doing events together, going to places together?
We did.
Okay. I know you weren't married to Jodi, but was she serving as kind of a stepmother role to your son at that point in time?
I would not describe it as a stepmother role at all.
Okay.
A friendly role, a friend to Jack is how I would describe it.
Okay. This home you purchased in Palm Desert, when was this home purchased?
This was in June of 2005.
Okay. And I mentioned the both of you being on the mortgage, you weren't married, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The son was like
Were there
5.
plans for
I
that?
don't think
What was the status of the relationship when the two of you bought a home together?
When the two of us bought a home together, we were boyfriend, girlfriend, homeowners together. Plans for marriage, I could not say that I had planned to get married or not. I was unsure.
Okay. You'd been together, excuse me, with Miss Arias for a few years at the point in time that you purchased a home, right?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of the subject of marriage, was that ever discussed between you and Jodi?
It was occasionally, I can't tell you how often, not very often. She knew that I was coming out of a divorce, and I was not ready to be married again.
Okay. And that was was that something that was discussed early on in the relationship, or was that something that came up later?
I would have to
I don't know
say
if that
somewhat
makes
later.
sense.
Okay. And that was about you, not Jodi, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you must have been very happy in the relationship at the point in time when you were buying this house. Is that fair to say?
I was indeed.
Okay.
Problem
In
is that
terms
he did, like,
of this contract, this
Huge
mortgage,
network interview.
was
the
there a
same day
particular
afterwards.
a plan in terms of, are you going to live there the rest of your lives? You're going to live there for a few years? Was that discussed?
The plan was somewhat uncertain, revolving around my son. We had hoped to stay in the house for a minimum of at least 2 years. We weren't in the process of flipping houses. We wanted to establish the home and possibly resell it.
Okay. So was this part business venture, part home, if shall we say? I mean, a home to live in, but also a business venture?
Not a formal business venture, a personal business venture. I mean, it was a home, but we also looked at it as an investment, hope to gain from it at some point.
Okay. And do you recall the amount of the mortgage on the home? The monthly payment, monthly mortgage?
The monthly payments were somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,700, $1,800.
Okay. And was that something that was that amount? I take it you split that down the middle?
We did. We shared expenses.
Okay. And was that something that was difficult for you both to pay your halves of the mortgage? Was that a strain or?
No, we were able to accomplish it.
Okay. And where were you working at the time that you purchased the house? Were you still at Ventana?
No, I had left Ventana and left my other employment in Monterey. At the time of the home purchase, I was looking for work in Palm Desert.
Okay. And where was Jodi working to your recollection?
Jodi was working at the California Pizza Kitchen
Okay.
in Monterey and then also in Palm Desert when we moved.
Okay. And I just want to clarify, when you purchased the home, did she have two jobs or was this just a matter of moving? You mentioned a couple jobs, so I was a little confused.
I'm sorry. When we moved to Palm Desert, she started working at the California Pizza Kitchen and then eventually got a second job
Okay. And do you recall where that second job was?
at a restaurant called Quisto.
Okay. So she was working two jobs and you were looking for work, correct?
Correct.
At this point in time. And Jack was living with you on a part-time basis, right?
Correct.
Okay. Was there a point in time where Jodi was paying the whole mortgage or how did that work with you not working?
I got a job and went to work within 2.5 months.
Okay.
And was able to support my share until then.
Okay. And the relationship was still happy at this point in time?
Very much so.
Okay. And refresh me again, when did you sign off on the mortgage of this home?
Late May, early June 2005.
Okay, 2005. So how long did the two of you live in this home?
We lived in that home until December of 2006.
Okay. And how many rooms were in the home?
3 bedrooms.
Okay, 3 bedrooms. Did you and Miss Arias share a bedroom or did you have separate bedrooms?
We had separate bedrooms and shared a bedroom quite often.
Okay. Was there a reason for the separate, was that just for appearances for Jack or?
It wasn't for appearances. It was a matter of the amount of things we had.
Okay.
Beds, dressers, etc.
Okay. I want to fast forward a little bit to your life in 2006, in the summer of 2006. What was going on in the summer of 2006? Were you still living with Jodi?
I was.
Okay. At this point in time, it seems to me like you'd have been in the relationship 3.5 years. Is that about right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that a yes? The court reporter
Yes.
needs to hear yes or no. Thank you. At this point in time, was there or had there been more discussion about marriage?
No.
Okay. You were still in love with Jodi?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, she was still in love with you?
Yes.
Okay. During this point in time, your relationship up to the summer of 2006, did you ever see Jodi act jealous towards women that you came in contact with?
No.
When you first met her at Ventana, or first began dating her, I should say, when you were working at Ventana, I would suspect there was a lot of females at the workplace there as well.
Certainly.
Okay. Majority, would you say, of the workforce?
Was the majority of the workforce female?
Yes.
I couldn't say.
Okay. But during that time period, did Jodi ever act jealous at all?
Not that I saw.
Okay.
I agree until he did a
Did you ever notice
national
her
television interview
being
the same
violent
night.
or having a violent temper?
Never.
Do you remember a point in time when Jodi became involved in prepaid legal?
I do.
Okay. Do you remember about when that was?
I want to say early 2006, maybe March, April.
Okay. And tell us about what you knew about her involvement in prepaid legal. How did it begin, to your knowledge?
I don't recall how Jodi learned about it,
Okay,
but she did share it with me, and it was exciting.
okay. Do you remember her going to Las Vegas to a convention?
I
For
do.
prepaid legal, okay. At this point in time, or I should say prior to her going to this convention, I'm trying to get a good sense here. Was she still working the two jobs?
Prior to going to convention. She was still working two jobs, as far as I knew, up until some point in the fall of 2006.
Okay. And what happened, you mentioned the fall of 2006. What happened in the fall of 2006?
In the fall of 2006, the mother of my son decided to move back
4 years.
to Monterey and took my son as well. And he started school in Pacific Grove in the fall of 2006.
Okay. To kind of help us understand everything, you mentioned Palm Desert and Monterey, and it seems like we've gone back and forth a couple times. How far away is Monterey from Palm Desert?
9 to 10 hour drive.
Okay.
Several hundred miles.
Whoa.
So you mentioned that your ex-wife is going to move 9 hours away to Monterey, and were you going to follow Jack, or can you kind of explain that to us, what was going on with you?
Yes, I was going to follow Jack, and I began a strategy of how to get back to Monterey.
Okay. And talk to us a little bit about that strategy, if you will.
The strategy was that I was trying to find work, and as soon as I found work, I was going to move back to Monterey and continue to support the household and pay the mortgage in Palm Desert.
Okay. So was the plan for Jodi to move with you back to Monterey, or what about the dynamics of your relationship with Ms. Arias?
We had not planned per se for her to move back. My hope was that she would remain in the home until we could come to a resolution, until we could sell the house.
Okay. In terms of the relationship at this point in time, was it, were you breaking up? Was it going to be a long distance relationship? What were the discussions about your relationship with Ms. Arias?
Let's see, the relationship was slowly deteriorating over the summer of 2006. By the fall, Jodi had, we were still together in the home, but it was becoming clear that I was moving back to Monterey and that we would not be living together.
Okay. So you're saying at this point in time, things were kind of coming to a natural end. Is that what you're telling us?
I don't know how natural it was. I saw a lot of changes in Jodi. She became a bit of a different person than I had known previously.
You don't.
Okay,
say.
well, let's talk about that a little bit. You said she became a different person than you had known previously. Can you explain to us what you meant by that, or what you mean by that?
What I mean is that she got more involved with prepaid legal. She became less responsible to the household bills. I think that she had thoughts of succeeding in prepaid legal and being able to support herself through those efforts. And it didn't quite seem to be the case.
Okay. Let's break that down a little bit. You said a lot. Was she still working the two jobs at the pizza kitchen and croissant, I think is how I say it? Was she still working those two jobs, or did prepaid legal become the primary focus?
I believe that prepaid legal became her primary focus, and she did continue to work the two jobs.
She did or did not?
She did until some point, as far as I know, in the summer of 2006.
Okay. And in the fall of 2006 as well, at this point in time, you're living in Monterey?
I'm living in the desert in the fall of 2006 and trying to get back to Monterey.
Okay, trying to get back to Monterey. You're not there yet. And this $1,800 a month mortgage, was that right? Was it still that at that point in time?
It was the same. It might have been slightly more than that, but it was the same the whole time.
Okay. Was she paying her half of the mortgage and still fulfilling her end of the obligation?
In the fall of 2006, she had continued to pay the mortgage. She was not paying other household bills, and it looked like she was becoming, maybe getting into debt or into financial trouble. She continued to pay the mortgage into the fall of 2006, and then was unable to do so after that.
Okay. And that was a change in Jodi as well, because prior to that, she had paid all the bills, worked the jobs, and kept up on her end of the bargain, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you said it appeared to you that she was putting all her faith, if you will, into prepaid legal.
Yes.
And describe what you mean by that. I mean, was she just thinking she was going to be immediately prosperous? How to kind of describe for us the things?
Man,
I
Kurt's
think
got
she
no
thought
notes in front of
she
him.
was going to be prosperous, maybe not immediately, but very shortly. And for me, it seemed to me like she was not as rational and not as logical as she was prior. That there was almost a magical thinking that if we only believed and worked hard enough, that the prepaid legal was going to come through.
Okay. As far as her spirituality, could you describe for us your understanding of her spirituality, say, for example, not maybe when you met her as an employer, but as you began dating, did you begin to learn about that?
Yes, I learned that Jodi was spiritual and that she had a belief in God, and that I would have to classify it as just non-denominational Christian from what I knew.
Okay. And moving back to that time period in 2006, in the fall of 2006, did that change?
That did change, actually. Jodi, we had discussed spirituality in the past. We were not actively religious. Jodi did become more actively religious in the fall of 2006.
Okay. And to your knowledge, what church or denomination did she become involved with?
The Church of Mormon.
Okay. And did you, how did you become aware of this? I mean, did she tell you this? Were there visitors to the home? How did that work?
She did mention it, and she mentioned that she was studying it. There were visitors to the home. There were prayer sessions in our home, and I knew that she was actively getting more involved and taking her spirituality more seriously.
Okay. Did that cause any more behavioral changes in Jodi that you saw?
It did indeed. At that time, we had stopped being intimate, and Jodi had told me that she was saving herself for a husband.
And so then the sleeping arrangements were the separate bedrooms, I would take it at that point in time, right?
Indeed, they were.
Okay. And up to that point in time, you said you had an intimate relationship with Miss Arias. When did that intimate relationship begin?
That began sometime in 2002, late in 2002, after I had left my position at Panama.
Okay. And it ended in fall of 2006 when she became involved in prepaid legal and the Mormon Church. Is that correct?
In the fall, she had been involved in prepaid legal months before, but that did become the case in the fall.
Okay.
Yes.
A moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
These visitors to the home that you mentioned, did they start showing up before or after this convention?
Before.
At that time in fall of 2006, were you aware of her becoming involved in a relationship with Travis Alexander?
No.
how did your relationship ultimately end? We were at a point where we were in separate bedrooms and she was saving herself for marriage and you were looking to move to Monterey. How did the relationship end?
At that point, I found employment in Monterey and I moved late in December. And we parted at that point. And I didn't feel that the relationship had ended, but it definitely had changed.
Okay, well, let me ask you, say parted. Does that mean you broke up, per se? Was there a breakup conversation?
There wasn't a formal breakup conversation as much as I think we both saw our paths going the other way. I was hoping that Jodi would be back with me after resolving the house issue, but it was an unsure time. It was left open.
Okay. Was she clinging on to you, trying to go to Monterey with you, anything of that nature?
At that time, no.
And so you eventually moved back to Monterey, and what became of the house?
The house eventually foreclosed in the following year. I was unable to support it past February of 2007.
Okay. After you moved to Monterey and the house went into foreclosure, what was your relationship with Jodi like during that time period, if there was any relationship?
I would have to say at that time, the relationship was nothing but an occasional phone call. We were not romantically involved, obviously, and I had learned that she had left the house and moved to the Arizona area.
And so you remain friends on good terms?
We did.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. No further questions at this time.
Cross-examination.
All right, y'all are going to hate me, but I've made it as far as I can tonight. If you haven't been able to see, I've been shifting around in my chair a lot, almost pulling my beard off, as my mods would say. uh, so a little uncomfortable for those of you joining late. Just dealing with some health stuff. So I think it'll be fine by Wednesday. That's my goal. But here's hoping. Woo! But I appreciate you guys sticking around. Thanks to all of you who gifted memberships tonight. Thank you to those of you who did super chats tonight. I appreciate you a lot. So I apologize for ending before Cross, but we have something to look forward to on Wednesday. So, and then I have to look at the schedule for Friday as well, and I'll let you know about that on Wednesday as well. So, whew, I am gonna go rest, and I hope that you all do the same. So, court is gonna end early tonight because, dang it, I'm the judge, and I said so. But I really appreciate you all, and here's to Wednesday. So, thanks for showing up. Take care of yourself and your family, and don't forget to smile. Court's adjourned.